Rest in mind. Don't do anything when the ego pops up. Just simply return to resting. Simply resting, laying down the heavy burden that this ego brings with it. Just relaxing the body, relaxing the mind, resting in this moment. Nothing to do, nothing to think about. The mind is silent, still, serene. The ego robs it of this serenity. The ego judges, reaches out. Ego is too busy. We need not chase the ego out. Just allow the body to rest on the cushion and the mind in the present moment. Mind just gently resting. The ego is like a flag on a pole. In the wind, tossing and turning in the direction of the karma. We don't pay attention to that. We don't even pay attention to the we. Gently letting go to rest in the present moment. It is mind that's resting. The ego is like a loud, obnoxious guest that comes in claiming to be you, your home. Paying no attention to the ego, naturally it will leave on its own. Mind remains, mind rests. There is no ego, just momentary attachment to thoughts. Yeah, please.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So happy to be here in your presence and in your presence once again. My name is Craig Hall. I'm the director of Lexington Community Education, one of the organizations that's supporting this good day and good mind. I want to thank another co-sponsor, co-host, the New Legacy Cultural Center, and especially Tipping Fine.
I'm here just representing myself.
Right.
New Legacy is non.
Well, that's right. But the association, the great work of Bodhisattva is here and resonant with what we do together. And First Parish Church. Here we sit in front of this battle green. Perhaps some of you know the history. But what happens here is a revolution of another sort, a turning of the wheel of Dharma from week to week. And so we're grateful for this place and Ann Mason, the head minister here, for welcoming us and being a presence in town. But of course, our special guest deserves the most special thanks and gratitude. Gilbert Gutierrez coming back to Lexington here to share the Dharma and help turn the Dharma wheel of the universe, but also of our hearts. I'm not sure how many of you are new to this. Perhaps not many. Oh, good. Good. Well, welcome. Welcome. I was thinking, there may be terms or names that you'll hear today that might sound unfamiliar, but there's no tests or exams. You don't have to worry about any of it. And one of the things that veteran teachers are searching for and longing for is that thing called beginner's mind, which we perhaps have heard about related to Chan or Zen. Beginner's mind. So you're already at a level that some of us would aspire to as a beginner. And all the names and terms, Tathagata, Bodhisattva, Shakyamuni, Buddha, they're really all sort of other names for you, for us. So Buddha, right, is to be awake. Not necessarily the historical figure, although, but it's about being awake. So I started learning about Zen back in high school. Zen for American Western folks like me came by way of California. Before that, it came by way of Japan with Dogen Zenji and Soto Zen. But before that, Dogen went to China to study. And before that, Bodhidharma came from India to China. And so and before that, Zen in China has been, it's in the universe, right? This is the sort of terrestrial lineage. India, China, Japan, California, New York, Lexington, Mass. There's probably as many Dharma centers in Lexington as there are pizza parlors now. We've got Korean traditions, Chinese Dharma drum, Sangha. We've got Lama Surya Das representing the Tibetan tradition here living in town, and others, Soto, etc., etc. Many teachers, many centers, as many as pizza parlors, perhaps. But the best part about pizza is eating it, the energy it gives. The best part about these Dharma centers is sitting. And there's no other teacher in town like the one we have here today. None other as such. So Chan tradition emphasizes mind-to-mind transmission, a continuous passing of the baton, passing of the lineage. And Gilbert Gutierrez is one of the 5 intermediate lay Dharma heirs of Venerable Master Shen Yin from Dharma Drum Mountain. By and through his mind-to-mind transmission with the founding teacher, Gilbert inherits the lineage of both the Chaodong and Linji schools. Among the 5 disciples, Gutierrez is the only Zen master who resides and teaches permanently in North America. Throughout 55 years of dedicated practice and over 45 years of teaching the Dharma, his guidance and meditation is vibrant, insightful, life-changing. There's so much more to say, but it's time in the presence of a master teacher to get out of the way because we have a master teacher in our midst. And for me, Zen and Chan, really, the essence is impossible to say. Impossible to say, so stay. Impossible to say, so sit. Impossible to say, so eat. There'll be food after for those who want to join in fellowship, talk, and an extended meditation in the afternoon for those who want to stay for that too, for the newcomers or the people that learned about this through our catalog. Impossible to say, so breathe. Impossible to say how much gratitude we have to welcome you back again. Our hearts are full already. Thank you. Please welcome.
Amitabha. Thank you very much, Craig. I have to say, I've never been so well eloquently introduced. You're much of a treasure here in Boston, and I hope that you share this with others and serve as a teacher because you have that ability to speak from the heart. This is the most important that we have. It isn't necessarily that we are we have to know every sutra or every line, but we have to feel from our heart and engaging with our heart and to harmonize with all sentient beings. The harmony of all sentient beings is including everyone. And I'm going to kind of start with something that's kind of in the deep end, but then you will understand what this is all about. Let me see if I can find it here. This is very deep into one of the most deepest Surangama Sutra, and it's talking about this level as somebody's progressing higher. But then you understand what Chan Buddhism is from the heart, and it's saying, Ananda, when the practicer reaches this stage, he will find himself in a great mass of brightness. His mind will discern the sorry plight of living beings, and being pressed harder, it will give rise to infinite sadness. He will even regard gadflies and mosquitoes as his own children. He will even regard gadflies and mosquitoes as his own children, on whom he takes pity, bursting unconsciously into tears. This results from the hard-pressed contemplation and is harmless if he knows its cause. It is not a saintly state, but if he understands it, in time it will disappear. What this means is this is a progressive stage of a bodhisattva, someone who has an interest in the suffering of the world. And when we can extend our compassion to to all sentient beings, then we are not far from it. The practice of Chan is a demonstration of wisdom, and Inso is also a demonstration of compassion. This wisdom is what is called right view. As a Dharma era master, Shen Yang, he had three prerequisites for a Dharma heir. So there could be people that did achieve looking at their true nature, for instance, they call it Inca. But to be a Dharma heir required something more than just simply doing that. The first one is a very stable morality, that a person cannot be someone that is seeking fame or seeking money or attention or trying to take things from others. It is this idea of giving, which is the second prerequisite, which is bodhicitta, this interest in helping others, and this interest of this compassion is undiscriminating. Even to the gadfly and the mosquitoes, there is pity for their plight, and understanding that there is an awakening. Can you imagine to give your attention to a mosquito? How can you even begin to communicate with a mosquito? How can you do that? And the third one is right view, how mind works. So we'll return to right view in a moment, but I want to tell you some story. You could call me a bug whisperer. I was once in a retreat, and this was when in Dharma Drum Retreat Center, it was still in the process of being rehabbed, and it was open to the elements. And I was sitting one night meditating, and this little bug comes crawling towards me from outside. And I looked at the bug, and I said, "Bug, pay attention." And it stopped, and it just went like this, like turned its head. And I said, if you look further in the room, you'll see many of your kind that are dead. They're on their back, cold. If you continue to come in this room, you will be just like them. You will die in this room. It's better for you to go back to your own nature. And the bug went like this, turned around and went back outside. How could that happen? How could that happen? And then there was another interesting story where I was telling people how to do direct contemplation outside. And I was jesting about it and saying, if you do direct contemplation, you have to focus on one thing for one moment, or for the completely just keep looking at it. And I said, don't look at something that's moving like a bumblebee, because you'll be going like this trying to look at it and it'll be flying around. So we went outside, and lo and behold, a bumblebee began to buzz around me, as if to go, let's try you out. Let's try you out. And one thing is, sometimes I will tell you things that are very incredible, but I don't lie. I don't embellish them. They as they are, I say them in this way. And so suddenly I felt the bumblebee stop, and it landed on my pant leg. It was a very big bumblebee. The bumblebees are a lot bigger than bees. So I could feel the weight of it clinging to the back of my pants. And I'm going, this is interesting. Let's see where it goes. Where it went was crawled up my pant leg and then onto my shirt. And I could feel it crawling up and crawling and crawling. And this was my direct contemplation, was this bug. And it crawled all the way to my shoulder. When it got to my shoulder, for some reason, I just put my hand out like this in front of me. And the bumblebee crawled all the way around and turned and faced me. Now, how many people have had an experience like this? The bug faced me, and it was there for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. I lost track of time because I was just simply contemplating a bumblebee that was contemplating me. And it just sat there and looked at me. And finally, it flew off. The last bug story I'll tell you is when I was with Master Shen Yang towards the end of his times in giving retreats in the U.S., he called me in to sit in the interviews. So this is a good occasion. This is something indicating, that the master thinks something about your skills to invite you into sitting there and understanding that you're there so you can pick up things. And so I sat down next to him on the right side, and so we're preparing the room to receive the interviewees, and this bug comes flying into the room. So it was literally making a noise like that, and it was so loud. And so I'm sitting there going, this is kind of interesting. And my master, he said, Gilbert, take the bug outside. And I'm going, right. This bug, couldn't even see what it was because it was moving so fast. And he wants me to take it outside, like how are you going to do that, to catch a bug like that? So I chased a bug like some clown around the room, trying to get it. And it didn't work. And I tried for a long time and it wouldn't work. So I was confident that Master Shen Yang would have seen that I tried my best to catch the bug, but there was no way I was going to catch it. So I sat back down going, I did my best. He didn't move. All this time, he didn't move at all. And then he finally said to me, Gilbert, if you don't take this bug outside, it will die here. So what do you do? What do you do? I mean, I'm going to chase a bug around like a clown again around the room. Finally, I was saying, what can I do? What can I do? And I was facing Master Shen Yang, and the bug was flying around him. And I go, I have to find a way to do that. All of a sudden, the bug landed on the arm of his chair. And it just looked at me. And just out of nowhere, I put my hands like this and said, please, let me save you. And it flew from there into my palm of my hands. And it was the most wonderful dragonfly I've ever seen. It was exquisite in how it looked. And I haven't found a specimen picture of this dragonfly. It was just something very amazing. And I just had it in my hands. They opened the door and it flew off. What are the chances? Really, what are the chances of that? So then my mind was very quiet in that moment. And I just sat down next to Master Shen Yang with no thought, nothing. It was an event. And then he said, okay, call in the first person. Nothing was said about it. Nothing needed to be said. This is Chan. Chan produces compassion. Even to a bug. When one has this kind of a unbridled compassion, there's no sentient being that it doesn't touch. No sentient being that is less than another. We see things in this way. This is Chan, this incredible unbridled compassion. This is where it all leads to. We talk about Avalokiteshvara Kuan Yin Bodhisattva, the one that hears the suffering of the world, or what is referred to in the Abhidharma as karuna or maha karuna. Maha means great, great compassion. Karuna meaning that who has an interest in the sentient beings. Each of you sitting here right now lack nothing. Your mind is already the Buddha mind, this mind. You need not look for it. Sometimes we make the mistake, like Master Ling Chi said, we would cut off our head and then proceed to look for our head. This very mind that you have is known as just mind, or the thusness of mind. When you were sitting before we started, that was what was resting. The ideas of the ego, they're merely projections in mind. This is called turning the mind's eye inward. When we turn the mind's eye inward, we see things in the right way. You already have the Buddha mind. This is very good news. You don't have to try to reach for it, to try to grab it. You just simply sit. It's right there. But when I tell you to rest, it's as if I'm extending my palms and saying, rest here. rest here. This is your mind, your true mind, your original face before you were born. There's all sorts of different ways to explain it. But it's this mind that you have. And when you connect it to the heart, the Shin in Chinese, the spirit of Chan permeates not just you, but the entire environment. And you invite others to rest in this present moment. It's not bad. You already have this. This is what the ancients said. What is the man of no rank? The man of no rank. He's not a private, a corporal, a colonel, a general. He has no rank. Where is he going to put all the medals and awards and bars and whatever else? It's just this mind that you have now. This is right view. In our practice, we have what's called Patriarch Chan, starting from Dhammo Bodhidharma, coming from India to China to spread the Dharma. Now, before him, there were others that were there, but he is acknowledged as the first patriarch of Chan. But yet the masters then say, in answer to the question, what did Bodhidharma bring from the West? And the masters say, if he brought anything with him, he would not be able to even save himself. These you have to contemplate. What does that mean? How could he save himself? Where would he put it? Does the Buddha have pockets to bring this with him? A backpack to bring something to China? No. When I come here, I don't come here to hand out Buddha certificates. You already have it. This is the good news. This is the good news. You could say, but I don't feel like a Buddha. And you go, how can I be a Buddha? How are you not? How is everything in this way not the Buddha mind? We don't understand that. We can't, because we operate from the idea of the ego. When we operate from the idea of the ego, we cannot see clearly because the ego gets in the way. But the ego is a projection in mind. Mind is the screen, but mind is also the projection. That being projected also belongs to mind. There is a saying in the Chan liturgy, which the first time I heard it, it pealed like such a clear bell. Huh? I didn't completely understand it at that moment, but I knew there was something incredible to it. Listen to this. To know all the Buddhas of the past, of the present, and of the future, perceive that all Dharma Dhatu nature, all phenomena, is created by the mind. Everything that you see around here is created by the mind. There's nothing apart from that. It can't be that way. Chan is the exploration as to how mind works. It is aware, always aware of everything, simultaneously aware of what is being said, what will be said, what you're doing on your cushion, whether you're moving, you're stirring, if you're puzzled or not. Mind is not separate from that. It can feel all of those things. It's incredibly wonderful. The ego dumbs down the mind. It makes it so that we cannot follow along because our mind is grasping to this and to that, and it can't follow with the present moment. My master used to always say, the Buddha is in the present moment. So what is this present moment? I used to think that it was like balancing on a point of a pin. This present moment was so clear if we could do that. But this point of a pin, the point itself is infinite. This balancing is the opposite of a little fine needle. It is the tip of the infinite. To know all the Buddhas of the past, present, and future means that we're not talking about time in the same way as a watch, wonderful creation of a watch that's governed by the cycle of the earth revolving around the sun and dividing it up and dividing it up. But if we're talking about knowing all the Buddhas of the past, present, and future, then we understand this Buddha present moment is not the same time as the time of a sentient being calculating time based on samsara appearances as celestial bodies and measuring time from those. All of these celestial bodies, they're infinitesimally small in comparison to mind. So if mind has all times, it's unlimited. The future is there. The past is there. The present is there. It sees things in its own time, in Buddha time. Now, this gets a little bit harder to see, but when we maintain this awareness of the Buddha, it is something that is clear. We can't see those things, but these flowers here, for instance, they remind me, as soon as they put them down, of a saying of this one master that spent the winter in retreat. And in spring, he finally said that if I had not endured this hard winter, I would not be able to smell the fragrant plum blossoms outside. And as I'm talking to you, I'm also aware of the fragrance of these flowers. But it doesn't interfere with me talking to you. Mind is just simply this way. So in this way, there's no beginning or ending to the talk. It is a spontaneous talk designed to try to reach you from beginners to practitioners that have been practicing for a long time. It gives you a taste of Chan or a spirit of it. I have such very little time to present Chan to you and to interest you in the practice. But if I could take away even half of your suffering, that's not bad, right? You should buy into that. How many people want to take at least half of their suffering away? And like those infomercials on late night TV, but wait, there's more. You can, if you do this, you can have all of your suffering taken away. And then wait, there's more. Then you have Gilbert's lifetime guarantee that if you don't get it in this lifetime, you'll have another lifetime to do it. Not bad, right? but at least you're set on a course. We have to turn the mind's eye inward. This is not easy to do. It seems like we're going against the current of samsara, but it's actually samsara is going against the current of wisdom and compassion of the Buddha mind. When we see things in this way, it changes how we look at things. We no longer see it from the I, me, mine. The Beatles had a wonderful song like that. That was kind of parodying like a German song. I think it was written by George Harrison, which was probably the heart and soul of the Beatles. It was going, I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine. It happens all the time. Most of you probably are too young to know that song. But it's just talking about I, me, mine. All the time you're measuring things by what you mean something to your ego. So you buying into the ego. When you reverse the mind's I, then all of a sudden it is mind that sees the ego as a projection. We can't understand that. But if we go back to the very first part, we say that all phenomena is created by the mind. The ancients talked about neither sacred nor profane. What? Neither sacred nor profane. Because it all is in accordance with causes and conditions. Now, through the magic mirror, since the Buddhas possess all times, let's go back 2,500 years ago. A Buddha appeared in the world. Now, this Buddha at that time appeared in the world, but was not yet a complete Buddha. But by virtue of that Buddha's vows, this Buddha appears here in an appearance body. Now, for you who are more advanced, I will explain that there is a Trikaya. Trikaya meaning that there is a reward or bliss body of the Buddha. That's the Buddha without obstructions. There's the Dharmakaya where everything emanates from. When they say it's created by the mind, this is where things are created. The dream factory. And the Nirmanakaya is an appearance body. It is not really the Buddha. The Buddha, if you go out traveling 10 billion zillion light years out, you're not going to find a Buddha sitting on a throne. It can't be known by this appearance body, but it appears here in this world so that for the benefit of you, because this is the compassion of the Buddha. If everything was simply empty and meant nothing, this is nihilistic. Why would the Buddha bother with this pimple of a world? But it appeared here, and this Buddha to be, Shakyamuni, was the truth of this world was hidden by his royal family, prince that he was, Siddhartha, until he finally ventured outside the walls of the palace and saw an old person. What's this? This person is so wrinkled and so frail. And he saw a sick person lying in a bed. And then he saw a dying person. It was a shock. it's like a shock that we don't really realize. We go through this life and we don't see this. We just experience it and suffer from it as you get older, and you don't really understand the in and out of this world. But Shakyamuni Buddha said, why is this so? Why is there a world that's so filled with suffering? Who created this world? How could it be this way? Are there Christians in this room? Christian, okay. I will hold back on some things. I'm not belittling them, but it's just looking at it and trying to figure out, how is this place created? Even if you're a Christian, you have to understand that you are just a dream of God. You just didn't spontaneously appear. You were a dream. This world is a dream, an illusion, a phantasm. We don't understand that, nor did Shakyamuni Buddha in that way. So he practiced and practiced and tried to say, essentially, was keeping his body from any kind of worldly pleasures or sensations, eating the most rudimentary things, starving to death, sleeping in the ground, not taking care of himself, until one day he realized, this is not getting anywhere. Why do I punish this body and wither this body away? If I stay this way, I will not find what the answer. Till he finally sat under a tree to meditate, vowing not to get up until he could figure this out. He really wanted to know why all of this comes into being. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought, how do I come into being? How did I get here? Where is here? And the Christians, you're here or in heaven or in hell. The Roman Catholics put a little side pocket in there for purgatory to give you a chance to get out of hell. But for the fundamental Christians, you're either in or you're out. Shakyamuni Buddha was trying to figure out, how does this all come into being? Till finally he let go, simply sat and rested the mind. And as he rested the mind, all of these different conjurings came up in mind to try to devour him, to keep him from discovering this noble truth. But he persisted. He broke through. The greatest gift to mankind was he broke through. It was his time. He came here for this purpose and discovered everything is created by the mind. That everything that we see is a product of the ignorance of the mind. This is not easy for us to understand this part. This is where you have to contemplate deeply. How do we get there? So upon his arising from his meditative state and self-absorption, he presented what is called the 12 nidanas. Now, the 12 nidanas are a little bit further on than I want to go in this class. Some of you may know them, or called the law of dependent origination. Everything is all connected. And it starts with the first nidana, which is ignorance. The ignorance is believing that your ego is your true mind. rather than a projection on mind. And from that comes everything all the way through to birth and death. We didn't understand that when he said it. So then he dropped it down to the Four Noble Truths: suffering, the cause of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the illumination. And so that people could understand something. And so the Four Noble Truths stood in this way until Mahayana Buddhism came in and then really upset the apple cart and said there is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation of suffering, and no path. Because they went to directly the wisdom as how did this all come about? We cannot say that their suffering exists because that would mean it was real, but it's not real. So in Mahayana, they said, all of these things are not real. They're just mind, created by mind. And different schools of thought from the Yogacara to the Madhyamaka schools, all of these came in to define the Mahayana understanding that everything is created by the mind. This term, then, there's a fancy word for it, which is ekayana. This is a Sanskrit word, just saying just mind, or thusness, which is better, or thus, or is even better. But I can't teach. You wouldn't understand that. So nevertheless, we present this, but we begin it by saying to you that everything that you see is a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a dewdrop on a leaf, a morning star. When we understand it's so fleeting like this, I'm sure you all dream, right? Is there anybody that doesn't dream? Raise your hand. I'll show you a corpse. Everybody dreams. Exactly how long does your dreams last? Anybody know? Do they last like in real time? Like when you're dreaming? Or do they jump around in time? Or have you ever had a dream only to be woken up by the alarm? How many have dreamed and then woken up by an alarm clock? Raise your hand. And the others, I don't know where you guys are from, but it's okay. The point is, how long did that dream? Did that dream, was it manifested simply to awaken you? Because you're running going, I want that thing to catch me. I have to go to work now. So one bad dream to another bad dream. I say this because how long did that dream last? Could it have been like a snap of the fingers? Yet it seemed like an eternity that you were doing this and doing that, and all of a sudden, boom, it's there. How long did it last? But how long did it appear to last? A long time, right? How long is it when you're in the line at the grocery store and you're the last one in line? How long? A long time. But when you're having fun, wow, that went so quickly. Well, what's the measure of time then? When you're suffering or when you are enjoying yourself? The Chan liturgy says that joy will not last. We see these things, but we cannot realize the deep wisdom of what's being said. It doesn't mean I come here and say, oh, Gilbert's like a downer. I'm using a 60s phrase where somebody that's really depressing, that he just talks about suffering. No, I don't talk about suffering. I talk about awakening. The suffering is a dream. The joy, the samsaric joy is a dream. If you stick to it, then you'll see. Last night I enjoyed a couple of wonderful strawberries, and they were almost close to perfect strawberries. But next time I eat strawberries, if they're smaller than that, or unripened or too ripe, I will hold them to that standard, and I will suffer even by eating strawberries. It doesn't make sense. But we can enjoy the strawberry. And last night, I was enjoying the strawberry and imprinting in mind, talking to you about these strawberries today. Neither in the past, present, or future. It's just thus. And when you see that, and then you understand. But I enjoyed it, even looking at the strawberry. And as I see it, it's a very peculiar fruit. It's the only fruit that has the seeds on the outside of the pulp. Did you ever think about that? Or the taste of it, the coolness, or the sweetness, even the color, a wonderful red color with golden seeds. It's awareness. Just like I still smell the fragrance of the flowers, and I can feel you. And I try to keep you awake from leaving this room so that you can um, uh, listen to this talk. Some of it you'll understand, some of it you won't. But it's okay, because I just want to touch you with the spirit of Chan. I cannot download years and years of practice into you, but I can download the infinite to you, a taste of it, so that you will be interested in doing this and maybe relieve you of 50% of your suffering or more. And again, you have the lifetime guarantee. If you don't get it this time, you'll come back again, but you will be practicing again. It is just in this way. And we don't know how long that will take. It's like a dream. How long does a dream last? But this world is a dream. It's hard for us to understand those things. But what we understand with this in the basic way is that we are responsible for the appearances in this world. Now, the way I'm looking at it right now, given especially all the conditions in this world as they're happening politically, and violence and hatred, discrimination, we're not doing a real good job. We are really the caretakers of this world. But it starts with you. It starts with each and every one of you. What do you leave in your wake? If people say, oh, here comes Gilbert, oh my gosh, I can't take him. He's always angry, or he's always acting stupid, or he's this or that. No, what kind of a legacy is that? But if there's something that people say, I'm interested in what he's doing, I may not understand it completely, but he always talks about things positive to help people, to create a pure land on this earth. Pure land is a very important concept, but it's beyond simply trying to reach another place to practice. It is trying to have this world as a practice field, have this world as a means to awaken, not just to awaken us. There's so many people that I teach, some of them, they're only interested in their own realization. They care nothing about other people. truly. And they're gathering and gathering information, gathering this and gathering that. But they care nothing about whether you make it or not. They want the title that they're enlightened. I just say, please don't do that. You don't need to do that. How can you be, that's an extra cherry on top of the fact that you're already a Buddha. You already have it. Master Ling Chi said, now that you have it, use it well. When you don't need to use it, don't use it. You already have Buddha nature. You can't find it in your toes. Your liver can't teach your stomach the Dharma. It's not in your body. It is just simply mind that permeates all of you. This is your original face, your original nature. So when you have it and you awaken, you become very mindful of the present moment. What do you put in it? Do you put in patience or do you put patience? Do you put in compassion? Do you put hatred? Look around your environment, wherever you're at. It reflects what is going on in your mind because everything is created by the mind. But if you create anger and hatred in your mind, discrimination, vexations, that's what you get out. Chinese say that you plant a melon seed and you get a melon plant. It's as simple as that. Whatever you do, look at your life. What have you planted here? What is the purpose of this life? What is your goal? Some of you are coming late into the practice. It's still time. You still have time. Some of you are younger and you have to see. Sometimes when I speak to Western audiences, I ask them, what is your life goal? What is your design of this life? What are you going to do with this body? The American standard is that you go to school, you get out of school or kicked out of school, you get a job, you marry somebody, you put out 2.5 children, and you vacation in the summer, you retire, and then you die. What do you think of that as the standard idea of what we do with this life? Who the heck sets this out for us? Wouldn't you think that there's more to do between vacationing, having kids, and retiring and dying? This life is so precious. Each moment gives us an opportunity to demonstrate wisdom. When we practice in a way in which we are just simply um, um, living this life like in some kind of a pre-programmed mode, that default program is not any good. It hasn't worked for thousands of lifetimes. It doesn't work. You still keep coming back. You still keep being born and then dying and doing it again. And maybe, just maybe, the last 100 lifetimes you were a gadfly or a mosquito. Sorry, grandfather. You have to see things clearly and say there's something here. So it is the noble purpose, not the noble proof of suffering, but the noble proof is to remove this, not from oneself, but from the samsaric world, to create a pure land here where we can demonstrate tolerance, patience, compassion, giving, generosity. But it's hard for us to do that. We'd rather make up a reason why not to give people part of what we possess than to give them something, because it's as if we're giving them our heart. Somebody's there. Can you please help me? Why should I help you? Get a job. I say that, and then the next time I'll see somebody on the street, that needs money, and it's difficult sometimes because sometimes the people are addicts, but we can't claim everybody that's poor as an addict. That's simply our ego trying to justify things. But it isn't. It isn't in this way. When we practice, there's two levels of practice. One of them is, well, there's three levels. One is don't practice at all. Okay, that's the default program. The second level is practicing to make you a better person, like polishing a puppet and washing the clothes of the puppet, maybe, changing the hair color of the puppet or whatever. But in the end, all we have is a puppet. And this is like building a staircase to heaven, trying to make yourself, which is a dream, be a better dream. It's better than nothing. And the third level is to demonstrate the proof that you have a Buddha mind. You already have it, but because of all the selfish notions, you can't see it. But it's never abandoned you, not since the first time you screamed, I want air, coming into this world. And then what was next? I want food. I want warmth. And it was like the I wanna, right from the very beginning. But when you see things and then you understand that even this little baby possesses Buddha nature, even the dying person possesses Buddha nature, then it gives you an opportunity to practice, an opportunity to set the course for others. I'm often called upon to talk to people about loved ones that are passing away, or even my own students passing away. And we give time to them. We understand they're leaving, but there's still an opportunity to practice. Even up to the last dying breath, there's an opportunity to practice. And we help people to leave this world without fear. So many people, they die in confusion and in fear. But when we set the course, we demonstrate this compassion. I feel for you, as if that person is my child and I want to help them. This is how it works. One of my Dharma brothers, another Dharma heir of Master Shen, his name is Guo Shengfasha, it's a monastic. He always goes around and telling people, asking them, who is your mother? You have to find out who your real mother is. And he'd just be laughing and laughing. The people, they don't understand that at all. Who is your mother? And so we've, over the past years, I've had very deep conversations. And once he humbled me and he said, he goes, I know who my mother is. And I say, who? And he says, you are. And I was very humbled by that because he's a great master. But we're always talking about this deep wisdom. In the Prajnaparamita Sutra, the Asta Sutra of 8,000 lines, it says that your true mother is wisdom. And so when we talk about wisdom, it's natural that way. And I say, and so you are my mother as well. because it is just this way, that wisdom communicating with wisdom. This is the bodhi heart of a bodhisattva. So we use wisdom to navigate this world. And by doing that, we find the way to um, uh, harmonize with all sentient beings. One of the most difficult things to do is to demonstrate this great compassion. Has any of you ever have, up to this point in time, gone through life without having somebody cause you harm or might be perceived as an enemy? Raise your hand if you've never had that happen. Even those people who wish to cause you harm or have caused you harm, when we can forgive them, then this is one of the greatest bridges to go from a conditional compassion to an unconditional compassion. In fact, Jesus, when he was on the cross, he said that, forgive them for they know not what they do. So this is not a wisdom just simply for Buddhists, but for Christians as well. It's difficult to do that. Somebody's crucifying you and really wanting to hurt you. Not only that, but you're on the cross and they're relishing in your suffering. How could you forgive them? But yet you do. You forgive people. And what happens is your compassion then becomes boundless, because there's no one that's not able to reach this. Even when you have the compassion towards the tiniest of sentient beings, then you feel that. So it is something that is the spirit of Chan. This is what I wanted to start with today, is to give you a feel for what Chan is. It isn't just simply a bunch of theoretical parts. I can talk to you theoretically about things just like a scholar. But I've often said, if that's all that you know to do that, then the scholars would be enlightened. But most scholars, Buddhologists or people engaged in Buddha study or philosophy, they're not enlightened. They can write about it, but they're not enlightened. So there's more to Chan than just simply reading books. I'm not saying not to read, because this is where I derive wisdom from, but this wisdom has to be generated from the heart, moment to moment. You each are a vessel of that. So if there's something that you can get out of this today, is understand, use your heart. Don't use your ego. Use your heart to do that. This is in some ways the most difficult. Some of you are coming to this world naturally with a wonderful heart. You can spot them a mile away. They actually have a luminescence around them. They're glowing. You can't see it with the regular eye, but your heart can see it. And then there's others that are tough eggs to crack. It takes time. To me, I was in the latter category. I had the ability to have the wisdom, but it took me a long time to cultivate great compassion. It's not easy to do that. You can love people and you love your family and give them compassion, but when it's somebody else, then you say, let somebody else help them. I don't need to help them. But when you do that, when you can forgive your enemies, it's not easy, believe me. And in this world, people don't make it easy on other people. But there's something that I often say, and that in this world, you have to see this when you run into confrontations. And this comes from a saying, we call it dicho in Spanish, that's a saying of wisdom that's filled with wisdom. But remember this the next time you get into a confrontation or an argument or things, and over sometimes very petty things. And better one donkey than two. So when you're there and you're fighting with somebody, you're fighting with a donkey. But then you enter in and you're both, both like donkeys fighting each other. What for? What is so vitally important? Your name, your pride, whatever it is that you fight for, it's not worth that. You put it down. Putting it down subjugates the ego. Fighting with somebody else, the ego is revived. It becomes stronger. Ignorance becomes deeper set. We don't need to do that in that way. Once Master Shen Ying was in his office and he was doing some work, and these some of his monks came in like, yes, and they come, Shifu, have you seen this article from the scholar so and so? He's rebutting what you're saying. This is not right. You know, you should write an article to rebut this. And Shifu was just there saying, no. What do you mean, no? No, I won't do that. And they're going, if you don't have the time, I will write it for you. It's clearly wrong. And he says, no, I'm not going to do that. And so here's somebody's published something that is contrary to what he's advanced. And he's saying, no, I'm not going to fight them. And they said, well, why? Why won't you defend yourself? Right there is the answer. Why won't you defend yourself? And he said, because that article belongs to scholars so-and-so. The moment I pick up my pen, it belongs to me. Think about that. It fits in everything that you do. No, it is something that when you see things clearly, it's hard for us to give up the ego that wants to fight back. But if we do, what do they do? Master Shen Yin used to say, live in this way that I have nothing, you have everything. No, you are great, I am small. You are right, and I am wrong. What can they take from you? What can they take from you in that way? Once somebody wrote something that was baiting me to take a certain position that I didn't want to take because it was a political position. And we should not engage in the politics in that way, even though sometimes some comments seep in, I try not to. But the thing is that finally, because they're saying, well, then you're saying if you won't do this, you're saying that the other people are right. And I said, no, you are right. And they kept writing. I said, you are right. You are right. Finally, they gave up. What do they do? They can't argue with me because I'm telling them they're right. Yeah, I know the time. Okay, just one last one. So I'll end with something very interesting in that one. And that was that there was this one master, and he was in his room, and there was a little monk, we call him Pusa, like little monk. He's cleaning the bookcases in the back of the master, and he you hear these like, and then, and so he says, come in. And the master already knowing just from the way the person's doing, here comes trouble, right? Shifu, I was having an argument with so-and-so monk, and he said this, and I said this. And so the little monk's going, this is kind of interesting. And says, who's right? And he says, master says, you were right. And he goes, good. And then he leaves. A moment later, and he goes, wonder what that is. And so in comes the other monk that and he says, Shifu, I was having an argument with him and he said this and I said that. Which one of us is right? And the master said, you were right. And the little monk goes, huh? Huh? How can they? So he goes up to the Shifu. He says, Shifu, you said to this monk, he's right. Then the other one comes in, he says, he's right. And he says, they can't be both right. And the master says, you're right. So if you can live your life like that, then it's a lot easier. Defending your ego takes so much energy and it's counterproductive. So we will take our break. We'll continue on afterwards and we'll do some other stuff. And then towards the end of this morning period, I'll take questions from you. Okay.